Hello friends, I am Amarnath. Today we will discuss some of the fundamentals of ethics, morals and values which are important for paper 4 of GS UPSC mains. So what is ethics? Right? So ethics is, we can define ethics as in a simple way as a system of moral principles. It is a system of moral principles that guide, that affect the decisions of the people, and it affects the way the people live. So simply ethics is a system of moral principles which guide, which influences the individuals in making their decisions as well as lives. So ethics is concerned with what is good for the individual, what is good for the society, and it is about the morals that should be adopted by the individuals, right? So ethics is a part of a moral philosophy. Ethics is a branch of moral philosophy, right? So what is ethics consists of? So what are these moral principles consists of? From where these moral principles emerge out? So the term ethics is derived from a Greek word called as ethos, which means the customs, habits, character or dispositions, right? So when we talk about ethics, it is about the moral principles governing the behavior of the individuals and their relationships, how one individual should conduct themselves in the society, how an individual should conduct themselves with the others, what is the right way of behaving, what should be practiced, what should be avoided. That means ethics is about standards of right and wrong, understanding what is right and what is wrong, right? So this ethical principles, these ethical principles helps the individual. These ethical principles help the individual to understand this rightness and wrongness of the acts. So when an individual know what is right and what is wrong, then individual will tend to behave only that behavior, or individual will tend to show only that behavior which is accepted, which is seen as the right behavior. Now coming to morals, morals are private personal standards of right and wrong, right? So morals reflects the values of the individuals. Morals are determined by the values of individuals. So here I'm using 2 points. Morals reflects values as well as morals are shaped by values of the individual, right? Not only this, they tend to reflect the moral values of the society. Now, what is exactly the difference between ethics and morals? So, we are showing that ethics is nothing but moral principles that guide individual, moral principles that help individual in their day-to-day life. So these principles are set, they are given by the society. Simply to say, ethics are nothing but a code of conduct that is established, right? A code of conduct given by the society of the individual. That is a code of conduct which is external to the individual, right? Which when followed, right, will lead to acceptance of behavior of the individual, right? So when this code of conduct given by the society, when it is followed, definitely the act, the behavior of the individuals, the actions performed by the individuals, they are accepted. So every behavior of the individual is evaluated based upon these standards of ethics, based upon the standards which are in the form of code of conduct. So when we talk about right and wrongness of the act, right and wrongness of the behavior, so with what respect we are evaluating? So it is based upon the ethics. It is based upon the principles set by the society, principles which govern the behavior of the individual. So it is an external code of conduct. It can be a nation, it can be a society. So every nation has their own constitution. It is this constitution, it is this constitution which clearly outlines what is expected. The code of conduct, the behavioral conduct of the individual is given by this constitution. That is what ethics mean. Now, when we talk about morals, it is about the individual standards, personal standards. So they are internal constructs of the individual. Individuals have their own construct, what to do, what not to do, how to behave. So they have their own values. Every individual has their own value preferences. Right? So it is these value preferences of the individual which share their morals, which share their principles that govern their behavior. So every individual is guided by their inner principles, their inner standards. That is the reason why we call morality as private personal standards of right and wrong. Right? So there are many factors. There are many factors that influences, that sets the standards of the individual, the moral standards of the individual. One of these factors is the value system of the individual, their preferences, their family, their society, their friends, their peer groups. It can be any what you call the individual, the environment, the ecology of the individual, the system in which the individual exists, right, lives. So they shape, right, the morals of the individual, right. So what does this what you call ethics covers? What does this ethics covers? So normally ethic, right, when in our day-to-day life, we come across, we encounter many dilemmas, whether to do a particular thing or not, whether to talk or not, whether to go with a decision or not. So what to go, what to follow, what to do, what to avoid. So there are many such day-to-day dilemmas in our life. There are many dilemmas in our life. So these dilemmas, right, are resolved by the ethical principles. So ethics covers, right, normally the dilemmas like how to lead a good life, how to have a good life, what is a good life, right, in a given society. I'm talking about in a given society. That means, so there can be a changes. That is what subjectivism, right? There can be a changes, right, in a given society. So what is good in a society? What is good? What is good in a society? In Indian society, what is good? In Western society, what is good? So how to lead a good life? A good life, a good conduct at the one point in one society may not be accepted in other societies. There can be changes. There are variations, right? So this ethics covers these dilemmas, our rights and responsibilities. So what is our duty? What is our moral duties? So what to perform, what to do, what should be avoided, right? We always say that. So one of the what you call natural duty of an individual, that is duty given, a duty that comes by birth, by nature, is respecting others, respecting the life of others, respecting the dignity of others. It is the what you call a cardinal principle of the individual. So it is the duty of every individual to respect others, to respect the life, the liberty, the dignity of others. So when an individual think about themselves, and same thing is applied to others. When an individual think about their own good, their duty is to think about the good of others also. That is what the responsibility. So ethics covers these dilemmas, right? So how to be good, how to be right, right? In what way a good conduct can be adopted, right? So how, what are the universal what you call virtues which makes an individual as the right individual, right, an ethical individual, being honest, showing integrity, right? So these are the universal virtues or characters which makes an individual, right, and which makes an individual as an ethical individual, right? So the language of right and wrong, what is right now may not be right in the future, right? It may change. So understanding these points, I'll give one simple example. India is a peace loving nation. India is a peace loving nation, definitely. Now, whether this principle should even be used when there is a threat to India, right? So we are saying that we are peace loving, but it doesn't mean that we should not keep quiet when we are harmed, right? So this rightness and wrongness, the language of rightness and wrongness, it is resolved, right? It is understood by using the principles of ethics. So ethics helps us to resolve these dilemmas in having a moral decisions, what is good, what is bad, right? So we know that we have the capability of controlling the rogue nations, but why we are not using our what you call our strength? Because we know what to do, what to avoid. We know our morals, so acting morally, moral decisions of what is good and what is bad, right? So ethics covers these dilemmas, right? If you take what you call the different ethical theories, the overview of different ethical theories. So normally there are different branches, so we can call it as different branches of ethics also: the normative ethics, the meta ethics, and the applied ethics, right? So it is what you call normative ethics, meta ethics, and applied ethics. Normativism. What are normative ethics? So normative ethics, they mainly focus on what to do. So when we hear the word normativism, it is about what ought to be done, what to do. So that is, the focus is on the end objective, the value preferences. So here normative ethics are those theories of ethics that are concerned with the norms, standards, or criteria that define the principles of ethical behavior. So what constitutes ethical behavior? So being honest, you should be honest, you ought to be honest. So that is what ethical behavior is. So being honest is an ethical principle, ethical behavior. So normative ethics are, right, these ethics are focuses on what ought to be, what should be the nature of ethical principles, what should be the nature of ethical conduct. That is what normative ethics are. So this normative ethics normally consists of utilitarianism, Kantian based ethics, that is duty based ethics, also called as deontology, right? So teleology and deontology. So these are two different branches within normative ethics. The divine command theory, divine command, God based ethics, right? So these normativism, they help, these normative theories, right? So standards, or the what you call the normative principles, helps the individual to resolve ethical dilemmas, right? So there are many examples, right? So discrimination and reverse discrimination. Simply it is about going for affirmative action by the government to protect the underprivileged, the weaker, even though it harms the what you call other sections. When one is being protected, when one is discriminated, right, the other is reversely discriminated. Now should this be accepted or not? Discrimination and reverse discrimination, affirmative actions of the government, right, providing special treatment, providing special provisions for the weaker sections. Now whether it should be accepted or not, how to understand this? So you can use duty based ethics, you can use utilitarianism, the consequentialism. So this is what, so utilitarianism is a part of consequential ethics or consequentialism. Sorry. Right. So these normative ethics, they help the individual, right, to resolve these dilemmas, right? So normally these normative ethical theories covers utilitarianism, deontology, I was saying, virtue ethics as given by what called Aristotle, right? Ethics of care, egoism, right? So these are a different what you call concepts or different perspectives within the normative ethics. So we were talking about meta ethics and applied ethics. So what are meta ethics? What does this meta ethics deals with? So meta ethics, it is, you have many words like metacognition, metaphysics, meta policy, meta, right? So it deals with right, dealing with the ethical theory itself, understanding ethical principles. So it is about studying the underlying ethical principles, right? So the primary purpose of this meta ethics is evaluating moral and ethical theories of a particular system, right? So it is not about what ought to be, it is not about determining what should be, it is about, right, observation, empirical approach, empiricism, observing, generalizing, and providing what you call a prescription, a predictive, right? So meta ethics cover, yeah, involves empiricism, right, where here it is involved in study of underlying moral and ethical principles. It is about underlying moral and ethical principles, right? I'll take one simple system, right? One simple example. We have right, a Devadasi system, right, where young women at the age of right immediately after their puberty, they are dedicated to temples and gods, and even this is a practice, and people have accepted this practice even in certain villages now. This is normally being practiced. So what is right, whether this is right or wrong? So people think it as their duty. People believe that, right, it is ethically correct. For them, it is ethically correct. For that villages, for that societies, it is ethically correct. But when we start studying these principles, when we start studying this what you call aspect of Devadasi, so whether it is correct or wrong, what is making, why are people believing that Devadasi is ethically correct? So here we are evaluating an ethical theory. We are evaluating an ethical principle, the moral principle there. So the study of this meta ethics is focused on this area, understanding the existing ethical principles, evaluating the existing ethical principles. So that is what the study of what call the concern of meta ethics. So we are not bothered whether it is right or wrong. We are not bothered whether this Devadasi is correct or wrong. It is least. We are bothered about why it is seen, why it is accepted. Right? Coming to applied ethics. Applied ethics describes how, alright, so the name itself says application, applied ethics. So applying the ethical principles. When we know what is good and what is right and what is wrong, then it will be easy to apply those principles which are regarded as good, right? It is easy to apply those, it is easy to avoid those principles which are wrong. So applied ethics is about application of normative principles, application of normative ethics. So in every branch of life, in every organizational life. To take any duties, duty ethics, you can also call it as duty ethics. As a teacher, what I should do, right? As a manager, as an administrator, as a doctor, as a military. So we have, every profession has their own code of conduct. Today we talk about code of conduct for public servants, code of conduct for doctors, ethics for what you call the profession of doctors. So they have their own code of conduct, and every individual, every professional is required to follow this code of conduct. Every professional is required to apply this code of conduct, and violating this code of conduct is an unethical practice. So when there is a violation to this code of conduct, whenever there is a violation to this professional ethics, right, it will lead to unprofessionalism, it leads to unethical practices. There are many issues, right, within medicine practice, within what you call law enforcement agencies, within the public servants. But there are many what you call issues that are confronted in the present day society, right? And these issues are because of non-following of this ethical conduct, non-following of professional code of conduct, right? So that is what about meta ethics and what you call applied ethics, right? So you can call this, you can also deal with these types of ethics as supernaturalism, which believes in God, subjectivism, consequentialism, intuitionism, emotivism, duty-based ethics, virtue ethics, right? So these are different types of ethics. So here I'll try to provide a glimpse of these different types of ethics. All right, supernaturalism. The name itself is supernatural. That is beyond our nature. It is beyond. It is an imaginary, right? So we can call it as a God-based ethics. So these ethics, they totally depend upon the teachings of God. So the conduct of the individual, right, is regarded as right or wrong based upon the teachings of God. So these teachings are taken as standard for measuring, for evaluating the conduct of the individual. All right. So here the only source of moral values is God. We call something is good or bad based upon the teachings of God. So if an individual conducts themselves according to the teachings of God, we call it as what we call good conduct. Organizing langar, right? Organizing langar, right? What you call providing alms to the poor people, right? Because God says it. It is given by God Himself. Right? So you take Islam, you take Hinduism, you take what you call Sikhism. Every religion, they have their own teachings. Every religion have their own teachings, and acting according to the teachings of that God will make an individual as moral and ethical. So here, who is giving this code of conduct? It is our God. It is the God. Right? So to lead a good life is, right, to follow the God. We have what you call we have different philosophies within Indian system, right? Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, right? We have many such philosophies, right? That is, we tend to follow dhyana, meditation, yoga. So acquiring knowledge, right? So acquiring wisdom, because God says it, we should follow it. So when an individual follows the principles of God, when an individual tend to follow the system of God, then the conduct of individual is regarded as ethical and morally correct. Right? So this is what about supernaturalism, which is nothing but a God-based ethics. Consequentialism. Consequentialism. So consequentialism is based upon two principles, right? So that is, an act is regarded as right or wrong based upon the result of the act, consequence of the act. The more good the consequence is, right? The more right or correct the act is. So the correctness and wrongness of the act, the moralness of the act is based upon the amount of consequences, the amount of consequence, the quality of consequence as well as a quantity of consequence. Here I'm talking about 2 points: quality of consequence and quantity of consequence. So if it is good, so it is quality. If it is more good, it is quantity. Right? So this consequentialism, it is normally based upon. So when you talk about it is given by Jeremy Bentham, right, where he has developed a fallacious calculus. So to understand this point, right? So consequence. So consequentialism is based upon the rightness or the wrongness of the act done. So there are different forms of the consequentialism. So these consequences are what you call valued differently. They are seen differently. So we have two main schools. One is utilitarianism as well as hedonism. Utilitarianism and hedonism. So in utilitarianism, it is the consequences is evaluated. The consequences is seen as in terms of human welfare. Any act of the individual, any act of the individual which maximizes human welfare or human well-being, right? Human well-being of the greatest number. Exactly to say, it is promoting well-being of the individual, right, well-being of the greatest number. That is what utilitarianism. So here the ethicalness of the act, the consequence of the act is measured in terms of well-being, human welfare. How many people, right, are getting benefited, utility of the act. Utilitarianism derives from this word of utility of the act. So the instrumental character of the act, right, which brings human welfare to the maximum number of people. That is what utilitarianism as given by Jeremy Bentham, though it is modified by John Stuart Mill, right? So but here we'll just focus on what is this utilitarianism is. Coming to hedonism, hedonistic, right, Charavaka, right, maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain, right? So this consequentialism, it is seen in terms of pleasure and pain, human happiness, human pleasure. Where lies happiness, whether in human pleasure or in well-being of the individual? If we see it as in terms of well-being of the individual, it is what called utilitarianism. If it is in terms of pleasure, right? So we have many versions, right? We have many meanings given of on this pleasure. So the pleasure according to Plato, pleasure according to Aristotle, pleasure according to what you call Bentham, pleasure according to Immanuel Kant. So right, it varies. So in fact, you cannot use this Immanuel Kant, but when we talk about this word pleasure, happiness, it varies. There are different notions, right? So consequentialism, it is understood in terms of consequence of the act. Anything which promotes human welfare or human happiness, it is regarded as morally and ethically what you call accepted act, right? So utilitarianism, it is, I was saying, it is a rule based ethics, right? So ethically right choice in a given situation is that which produces maximum happiness, right, maximum benefit. So when we're talking about happiness here in terms of utilitarianism, it is benefit, utility, maximum benefit to the maximum number of people, right? So when majority are getting benefited because of reservation, there is nothing wrong in there is nothing wrong, right, in allowing reverse discrimination. When majority weaker sections are getting benefited at the cost of few people, There is nothing wrong because majority happiness is more important. So here there is a measurement in terms of quality as well as quantity, right? So it is about the what they call measuring happiness of majority people. That is what utilitarianism is, right? So utilitarianism, it talks it measures ethicalness based upon the rule, what you call result, the consequence, right? So you can use these principles in our day-to-day governance, in our day-to-day administration, right? When we think about the act of government, when we evaluate a policy, when you evaluate a decision of the government, you can use these logics to understand the ethicalness behind the decisions or what you call policy of the government. Emotivism, so it is if it the name itself is emotion. So emotivism teaches that moral statements have nothing to do, right? They have no meaning. They are just emotions of the individual about upon an issue, right? So emotivism believes that moral statements do nothing more than expressing the speaker's feelings about the issue. It is just a speaker's emotional feeling about an issue, right? So they believe that moral statements are meaningless, right? Moral statements expresses, right, the speaker's emotional feelings, and these emotional feelings of the speaker will influence the emotions of others, the conduct of other people, right? So this is what. So it is there is nothing like morals. It is only emotions. I'll take one simple example here. Example here. We read, see, recently we have seen one recent encounter of a gangster, right? And this is not new. Even in Hyderabad, right, four rapists have been what we call encountered, right? Now here, do you accept this encounter or not? Do you accept this killing of an individual or not? We have an emotion. Yes, there is right. There is nothing wrong in killing these people, right? The four rapists who have killed what you call, who have live burnt a girl. There is nothing wrong in killing a gangster. It is our emotions. Now, when you talk rationally, whether one individual has the right to kill other individual, right? Can you kill a person without going to without following the procedure? Because procedure is more important. Principles of procedure is more important. It is not just substantialness of the act, but even it is the proceduralness of the act which is more important. When you use John Rawls, right? So here, spontaneously we say that yes, there is nothing wrong in killing a rapist, and we tend to influence, we tend to mobilize people based upon these emotions. One individual, right? One emotion influencing the conduct of other individuals. We have seen people coming onto roads and in support of policemen who have killed this rapist. They have celebrated. It isn't just an emotional feeling, right? So what is rationality in that act? What is the rational in that act? So emotivists, they believe that there is nothing like morals. It is only human emotions which when accepted, which when influences others, which when is accepted by others, it will become a moral conduct. When our what you call emotions is accepted by others, then definitely it is our moral rules. That means we can kill rapist. No, here this principle is evolved based upon the acceptance of one's emotions by others, right? So we, right, this is one what you call a type of ethics, right? But in reality, emotions has no place in rationality. When we talk about rationality, right? There is no place for emotions, right? Similarly, when we talk about virtue ethics, so here virtue, character based ethics, character of the individual, right? Character of the person who is acting, not on the what we call emotions, not on the what we call the consequence of the act. It looks at the moral character of the person who is carrying out the act, right? So moral acts will be performed, right acts will be performed only by right men. Only right men can do the right act in a same situation. That is what believed by Aristotle, right? So a right act is an action of a virtuous person who will repeat in the same circumstances, right? So virtue ethics is a person based ethics rather than an action based ethics. It focuses on the moral characters, the the virtues of the individual who is carrying out the action, rather than the code of conduct given by the society, the rather than the consequence of the what we call actions. So the inbuilt character of the individual which will determine the end outcome, but the focus is on the individual character, not on the end outcome. When the individual is virtuous, obviously the outcome will be virtuous. Obviously the outcome of the act will be moral act, right? So this virtue ethics, it not only deals with the rightness or wrongness of the individual actions, but it provides a sort of characters that makes an individual as a good individual, a good person. Those characters, those behaviors which makes an individual to be good, right, to be morally and ethically good, right? So these are different types of ethics, and every act of the individual, the every act of, so these are the logics, these are the branches of ethics which are used to understand different events, different day-to-day life events. So we normally talk about case studies in ethics. When we read case studies of ethics, when we solve case studies of ethics, it is these mathematical principles of ethics. So I regard them as mathematical principles. So it is these principles, it is these formulas which helps us to resolve different dilemmas, ethical and moral dilemmas, which helps us to solve case studies. Right? So with this, I'll end this class. Thank you.